Good evening. Today is Thursday, August 25th. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. August 25th. The time is 19:10 or 7:10 p.m. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I am Donald Webb, the president. I'd ask my other members to introduce themselves.
Kathy Chappell, secretary.
Mac Bellner, member.
Ron Mote, who's our vice president, had a previous engagement, and Janice and Tammy also were unable to attend tonight. So starting off, I will ask Mac and myself, we've looked at the minutes from last month. Were there any additions or corrections?
No.
Then I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second,
Okay. I second.
minutes are approved. We'll go on to the bills. We have 3 bills this month. One for Lewis and Capps, which is the Redevelopment Commission's lawyer, for $757.30. One for Tim Showalter, who handles the taping of these meetings. That's for $225. And then one for the Beech Grove Sewer Works, which is $11.25. The grand total is $993.55. I would ask for a motion to approve those unless there's any questions.
I make
So-
a motion.
Okay, and I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And those are approved. Mac, I'll let you sign
Oh,
that. I think what would be next on the agenda? Next on the agenda, I'll let the mayor speak if he has anything to say. If not, what was our, we have the group Next Stop Beech Grove who wanted to present.
Yes.
Please step up. Welcome.
Roger.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
I'm Matt Gilkerson. I own Brown's Garage. I've owned it for 24 years. And I am not a Beech Grove resident. Chris Henthor and I both sat down when the Next Stop was being in the infant stages, and we both decided that now was the time that we actually could see Beech Grove, handle some really good improvement and get its, face on the national scene, so to speak. The Office of Rural Development and Community Affairs, it actually allows Beech Grove to get where we get registered so we can get grants for improvements for the buildings along Main Street. I've got a little placard right now that I can just show you the areas that we're targeting right now. I'm sure that there'll probably be some additions to this, but just to get things going, get all the paperwork set in motion, and that's what we're actually doing right now. Myself, I'm a, like I say, shop owner, and I'm a firefighter and volunteer in Shelby County. I have access to some of the stellar communities where Shelbyville they were actually on one of those listings, and they did not get picked. I am going to work and find out what we, make everything that we do right. I don't want to have any improprieties. This is not a political situation. It's about property owners and business owners, and so that's what that's what I'm really trying to do with this situation. So anyway, I want to thank the commission for giving us a donation to get ourselves started, and that's really big of you. My uncle had been in Beech Grove. Bruno Brady was his name, and he'd been in here for many, many years. And he was kind of a guy that was always in the, if you want to say the back areas, and didn't want to be seen too much. This is a really big thing for me to even for me to come up and do this, because I stay in the back scenes also, just to help out people. So anyway, there you go. You have any questions about it?
But we haven't discussed yet making a donation.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
we
Well, I'll
haven't
get on my
made any
knees.
We still
You're
need-
the first one that's come to talk to us about this.
Oh, okay. Well,
Now we know that's what, I have a letter here
okay.
talking about it, and we knew you were coming tonight, but
Okay.
we as a group haven't discussed it at all.
Okay, well, what we would like to do, we're getting different groups from Beech Grove. I know Mayor Buckley has done a private donation to us already. Just getting us up and going. We hope to have a checking account set up in our 501c3 designation set up. Probably we've got to get attorneys right now that we're talking about that, and so we're trying to move as fast as we can, because there's a lot of people talking to us already just really excited that we're even trying to do this. The grants, if you have questions about the grants, we can't actually buy property with these grants. We can do beautification, we can do things with heritage and history, and that's where I kind of come in because, like for example, Brown's Garage is a building that was from 1958, and I'm actually, trying to keep, people wanted me to change, they wanted me to paint it blue, yellow, you name it, we want you to advertise for us. Well, Beech Grove's a small town, and I like it as a small town, but, we need to, I'm coming up with the times a little bit, but I want to keep some of the historical heritage. That's, kind of a lot what I'm doing. Chris Henthorne the same way. His father had been here back in the, 50s and 60s and 70s. That was what got both of us going on this. So we were asking for like $1,000 if that would not be, too much, but that's just to get going, and we're trying to get about $4,000 together just to get started because we're going to have some attorney fees and some expenses just to get going, and we're getting our all our committees set up, and so we've got just about all that done. And as far as the Office of Community Rural Affair application, I'm actually going to be at Chris Henthorne's agency tomorrow. We're finalizing all the plans, and Diane Hendricks, if you guys know her, she's super. I mean, we just when I went to Knightstown for some training for this, we really have ace in the hole because she's really great. She already knows a lot of the grant writing techniques that we need. So, you have any questions?
So you are working with the Office of Community and Rural Affairs.
Right.
And the goal is to take a particular section outlined here of
Yes, ma'am.
Beech Grove and designate that as a Main Street community.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happens once it's designated?
Well, once it's designated, that opens us up to be eligible for all types of different grants. Which,
To do what?
well, like I was, actually, right now, it would be like the beautification of the outside of people's buildings. I'd actually like to put some historical awnings on the front of my place. There's a couple places along Beech Grove, the business owners have talked to me that they'd like to do some improvements on the front of their facade of their building. I'd like to see a park, a little sitting park go in somewhere like right at Fifth and Main where the old Beech Grove Meat Market is. I know that building is, as far as history, it doesn't really have much historical value of it. But like I say, that it almost needs to be tore down. But we can't do it. This group, because I already asked. That was my first question. I said, well, can we buy property? Because I said, there's a property I'd like to buy right now, tear it down, and do something with it. And they said, just stop right there because you can't. So, but the economic development or the economic vitality, or even the RDC, I don't know if that's within your power to go after something like that.
Kathy, how is this different from the group you guys met with? Are these the same?
That is the group.
Okay, because you mentioned they had talked about RDC board members. I take it that went away?
There is a committee called the Economic Development Committee.
Okay, I see it.
And she would like, Diana came over to my house to discuss this.
Did she?
She would like somebody from the RDC to be on that committee. But that person would not be a voting member.
Okay.
So we could alternate, like one person could go one meeting, another.
I guess, the $1,000 doesn't concern me as much as how we could legally do it. Because the way it works is Main Street can be tied from Emerson Avenue, which is a TIF district, correct, Robert? But the $1,000, I don't know if there are restrictions by Indiana Redevelopment Commission code that we just can't give $1,000, can we?
If it's for the beautification or redevelopment of the Main Street community, I think.
Right, and see,
And that includes,
but I'm saying right now, we just can't say, okay, we'll give you $1,000. I guess what
Have
we
you
need.
always seen this?
Yeah,
Oh,
Kathy
okay.
gave me one, thank
Okay.
you. I guess what we would need from you guys is a specific request, like say for $1,000, we are gonna use this money for X, Y, and Z, and that's what this money, because we just can't give you a blanket $1,000.
No, and I understand that.
I'm correct, am I not, Robert?
It needs to be tied to
Something.
the actual redevelopment rather than to the organizational,
Right, and
Function.
see, right now, they're just trying to get organized, so I understand that. How many other businesses have donated to this $4,000?
Right now, as individual businesses, there haven't been anybody yet.
But they want us to help fix up their buildings?
Well, like I say, that's where I'm coming in, the historic part, because as you know, I've not been involved in anything for a long time. I mean, the last time I was involved in anything is when Emerson Avenue, the construction
Right.
got done out there, and I was part of that. And I kind of left everything after that, because there was just,
Do you know if any of those businesses have been approached about helping to acquire this $4,000?
well, I know that, I think that Tammy Hanna has asked a few people, that she's the one that owns Rustic
Right, I know
Creek.
Tammy.
Like I say, we're just in our infant stages. Like I say, I'm just trying to get this going as quick as I can, because I know, if we lose our time, because actually it'll take up to 2 years.
Right.
By the time we get our 501c3 and get our application approved, and be set in place to actually do anything. So this isn't gonna be like a shotgun. It's gonna be a real conservative approach. It's not gonna be like, hey, we're gonna do this right now.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the first grant is for the planning stages. And
I
then you
think so.
apply for a second grant to do the actual work.
Well, there's actually there's actually more than that
Right.
that's involved in it, but no, you're right.
Well, is the first grant then, is it a matching grant and that's why you need to come up with 4,000?
That I can't answer.
No, I think they need the 4,000 because they have to do it, they have to have
Or
some
just to
guidance,
pay
legal
bills to
guidance.
start with, yeah.
I mean, well, let's say, Mayor Buckley he's actually donated some. I'm sure that Chris and I are probably gonna be putting some in. Like I said, we don't have our bank account yet. We hope to have that opened up by, next month. So like I say, this is all preliminary. What we didn't wanna do, we didn't wanna come in and go under everybody's feet. And, hey, by the way, we just did this. We wanted to be all up front. We wanted everybody to know what we were gonna do. And, that's why I'm here tonight, because that's how I feel it should be done.
I mean, $1,000 isn't a lot, and I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think Janice will probably want to weigh in on this, I'm sure, because one of the things she's talked about is the lack of the landlords down between, like I said, wanting to put a dime into their buildings or
Yep.
help anything. They have no problem charging the rent. That
Oh,
has
yeah.
been a sore spot with her, and an agreeable sore spot.
Sure.
That they're not willing to help the community, but they want the community to help them. And I guess I have no problem with the idea, but we'd have to see, I'd want you guys to put something specific in writing so that we
Right.
could run it by Robert, because one of the things we do have is we have a huge code and statute on what we can exactly spend and can't spend. And, because Main Street is tied because of a TIF, we can do some stuff, but it has to, like I said, we have to follow the letter of the law.
Oh, I
'Cause I mean,
understand that.
$1,000, if we could figure out a way to get $1,000 and help get your group going, that's great. I look at the long-term troubles of your group though, and it's landlords that just don't want to do anything down there.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts you, it hurts your business and everybody else's, and, how we fix that, I'm not sure.
This is an ongoing question that we've dealt with over the
Oh.
months, that there's a real difference between business owners and the owners of the buildings that the
Yes.
businesses are in. And it would be great if there could be a way to get some commitment from owners of the buildings.
Well, and I might add about that, because I'm living in Shelby County. Shelby County had some real problems when they were trying to develop State Road 44 with a Walmart, because there were two companies that I knew of, holding companies, that neither one of them, until they finally got fined and, got asked, so if you don't show up, we're gonna take your property. It got that heated, and they finally showed up, and then, that they actually finally gave in, okay, we'll do this, but this was like a 2-year process to do that, and I understand.
What were you asking them to do?
Well, they actually, what they were doing is they actually were leaving, instead of doing anything to the property, they were just letting it get dilapidated. Just like the Beech Grove Meat Market property, it's dilapidated. I mean, I've noticed things in the last month that, especially with all this rain, I hate to see what the inside looks like now. But anyway, that's what happened in Shelbyville. So I've been listening, because I don't really do this all the time. I'm a shop owner, and
Right.
I'm kind of helping people. So, but I'm jumping into this now to see what I can work out, and I'm going to talk to some people on Main Street, because a lot of them, a couple of them already, said, oh well, you're actually going to do this, and yeah, I am. So I'm going to the gun shop, machine shop. Unfortunately, the property that's just south of me, that's all weeds, and the one house that was knocked down, I just met him for the first time today, and haven't had time to really, sit him down, hey, this is what we're doing, and really would like your cooperation on it. I have talked to the business that has the old Shell station there on the corner of Second and Albany. And he's all for it. He actually, I said, your place would look really neat if we could restore it back to, what a shop looked like back in the 1950s and 60s. And that, what I'm looking at there is just, that brings more people in. And because that's the other thing I'm looking for, Main Street is, besides heritage, is I want to trying to bring, more people in. I actually have done, the Polar Express. I've done that for the last 2 or 3 years. A lot of people don't need car repair when it's, snow or the Polar Express, but I've gotten a few, jobs from that. So, and I know, everything's baby steps, it's nothing like, hey, here's the results. So, and
Sure.
that's what I'm looking at.
So in addition to approaching the business owners, you're
Mhm.
also approaching the building owners.
Yes.
Do we know in each one of the buildings that's in this area, who is the landlord for the building if it's not business owner owned?
Well, that's our battle plan. That's why I got this right here, because
We need both sets of
Yeah.
information.
sure.
What is that thing he's holding up?
No, that's one thing we're looking at is if we can try to get,
Oh,
all the property owners.
Okay.
I mean, the good part of it is, I've got a lot of business owners. In fact, they're showing up actually for Next Stop Beech Grove, which I was really surprised. But I haven't, Chris nor we haven't nailed anybody down and asked them, hey, do you own your building? Or is it just the business you have? And like I say, as far as my knowledge, I don't know a lot about who owns what along here, but that's all changing now. That's what I'm getting ready to get into. So, but
We need to know both.
oh, I'm sure. Now, if you folks, I'm sure I probably will use you for for references if you have any knowledge that you could help us with. We definitely would appreciate it.
Much like you, we are daytime workers and volunteers, humble servants,
Yeah.
getting paid the big bucks,
Yeah.
i.e. nothing, to help the city of Beech Grove. I just want to say, as a resident and all that, I appreciate what you're doing, because it's taking time out of your life to make other people's lives better. That type of sacrifice, it's something special that we don't often acknowledge, that there are a lot of people out there that donate so much of their own time, not for monetary gain, but to help their fellow citizens. That, I do thank you for that. And
Thank you.
if we got a meeting September 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
We have it the fourth Thursday, and if you guys can get
29th.
is it the 29th? No, it'd be the 22nd, fourth Thursday.
Oh.
I know it
Yeah,
falls.
you're right,
It falls
you're right.
weird, but if you guys could get a plan together and either email it to us, or you could give it to the mayor and he could get it to us. But if you could get something together maybe a little bit ahead of time to where we can run by our lawyer Robert,
Diane.
if we can help you, $1,000 is nothing for us to help. I wouldn't have no issues with that.
Okay.
Especially if we can get you guys going in a positive direction, because this, getting Main Street developed to me is important. I mean, there's two areas of Beech Grove to me that need redevelopment, and basically anything south of 7th Avenue down to Emerson, because if you look at 7th, where Mr. Mascari's jewelry store is, and then DJ Taps the Eagle, that's a pretty nice looking block, and those businesses are vibrant. But then when you get down to like 6th to 5th, the meat market, as you point out, some of the, they don't look as an attractive. They look old and weathered, and revitalizing that would be nice. But that area, and then I would say the Churchman Plaza area with the flea market, that is another area that Beech Grove we could redevelop. And I mean, that's those types of things are how we're going to improve our community. And people like you stepping up to do that is how our community is going to improve.
I appreciate that. Somebody asked me the other day how much I get paid for a volunteer firefighter. My fire runs are like $9. Somebody asked me, "Oh, well, don't you get paid?" I said, "Yeah, $9." But I said, that's not the reason I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And you're right. That's not the reason I'm doing this. I'm doing this, because I think that there's enough change in the waters along here that I think, something can happen now. So, I hope I'm right about that. But
Well, and again, I hope your group, as it gets going, would work with the city, because we've got compliance going now, and there are things we can do to start making these landlords step up and be responsible. And it's like I read a thing in the Business Journal talking about Walmart and the bad public image it has, and I think Walmart does do a good service in that it gives poor people opportunities to goods and products at an affordable price. But, they have so damaged communities by their "we don't care about you" attitude, when they'd actually save money if they would just act like they cared.
Right.
And again, getting a positive image of Beech Grove or a positive Main Street will just increase the value and the attractability of this community, which is very important, which again, we'll do what we can to help you, I think. I firmly believe that. I'm glad you're getting this group going. I've heard talk of it for a number of years, but talk is easy. Doing what you're doing is hard.
well, I actually, the mayor pushed on it enough, and I drove. I've been to Franklin, I've been to Knightstown, I've been to Madison, Indiana. So I've seen three towns that have actually had this happen and made it work. And like I say, really, I mean, I know what those towns looked like before.
Right.
And seeing what they look like now, I know there's a chance for us to do it. And when I went to the Office of Rural Communities, they have training. So Chris Henthorn and I and Diane went, and we kind of surprised people when we got there because, "Oh, where are you guys from?" It's Beech Grove. "Oh, really?" And then they were like really excited to find out that we were from Beech Grove. And
yeah.
So I mean, because Speedway and Lawrence, I guess Speedway has done some of this. I'm not sure how much. I'm gonna have to go over there and be a fly on somebody's shoulder and ask. See what it's
Speedway
done.
is blessed with a heavy industrial base.
Yes,
And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
exactly.
And, I think, I've been going out there since I was a teenager, and I don't even recognize that Georgetown Main Street area anymore.
Right.
It's how much it's changed. And again, they've had huge amounts of money that they could draw off of to make that change, whereas we are limited. But, I would point more to if you want a success story that's closer to us, would be Irvington
Yes.
along Washington Street. 20 years ago, that area was known mainly for prostitution and drug sales. And now you see young people, other people going to Irvington to eat dinner, to visit the little shops. And, it's flourishing. The properties around there are getting popular and going up in value because people want to live near them. And I would make that same argument for our Main Street. If, I talked with a gentleman who talked about maybe even putting art districts in down there and having art shows, something like that to bring into these buildings, to spice it up a little, because I think we all agree the last thing we want is another bar or tattoo parlor.
Right.
We've got enough tattoo parlors in Beech Grove that, we just don't need any more. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We want to attract the right business, and getting landlords to step up is also going to be a huge task, I think.
Yeah, I I totally agree with that. And the Irvington, I've seen Irvington and, you know, yes, people, you know, it's a good problem that they have now because they're complaining about, not having enough parking. You know, but, you know, and people, you know, you build it, you know, people will come. And
Absolutely.
in this situation, you know, Beech Grove, you know, toward, you know, Third, Fourth, you know, through there, I'd like to, you know, I wanted to see some kind of development, you know, you know, maybe a few little sitting parks through there. I actually, you know, as far as the infrastructure, we've got you know, our drainage and everything's all done now. So that was one thing, back in 2006, people would ask me about, well, how come Emerson Avenue is getting done? I said, well, that's kind of city of Indianapolis, you know, doing that, so to speak. And, you know, but now, I mean, I'm really happy that it's happening. And, you know, as far as a shop owner, I actually, as far as respectability, I've got the Department of Public Works actually coming to talk to me about stormwater. You know, I say, we've had tons of tests to see if we've, you know, ever done any pollution as far as, you know, because I'm a shop and
Right.
and people, you know, they automatically think, oh, well, you know, you're dumping something.
Right.
And I've had tons of tests and they've redone sewers and, you know, I'm sure I would have got my hand slapped, you know, more than, you know, now because, so anyway, but that's just something I'm stepping up and doing. I just, and if another shop came in here, I would expect the same thing. The guy that has the place on, you know, at Albany and Maine or Emerson, I'm going to do the same thing to him. I said, this is what I did. This is what I expect you to do.
Right.
So, you know, because I don't want to have it where you're right. We have too many of the, I want to call them the slum lords, but you know, that's not the right word.
Well, like I say, if you can get something together explaining what that $1,000 would be used
will.
for, give it to us. You can even get with Robert and get his email or whatever. But you know, we have him review all our documents to make sure everything that the RDC does is legal and proper.
Sure.
And I could see I would have no issues with supporting you.
Okay.
Robert, how should he gear the information to you? I mean, what should he direct the request to?
Well, I think he should send it to Donald and copy me.
Okay.
But he's gonna say what they're gonna use that money for. What can he use that money for? Not attorney fees, but what for?
So can I say anything for organizational?
Let me check the statute on,
There's no point writing a letter if it's not.
trees that are going to be involved in beautification. That may be an exception to the general rule that you don't just give money to a business,
Right.
because it's really to help redevelop the whole.
Right.
Right. Well, and like I say, you know, and I want to, you know, the other thing is the historical side. I want to bring the community back into it where there's interaction with the businesses and the Beech Grove community because, you know, I know there'd been some separation on that and I see that changing now and that's another reason that I'm up here doing this.
You've got you don't have a checking account yet. You said you're
No.
going in about a month. Do you have a process you're planning to use in terms of documenting the contributions prior to the time you get your 501c3 designation?
Well, actually, I'd have to ask Diane about that. What I would do, you know, most likely is I would actually probably give you a letter of, you know, like a receipt, so to speak, but, you know, earmarking what it was for. And that way, if you're audited, it tells you exactly, you know, the why and wherefores for it. So, I mean, like right now, I can tell you right now, to get our 501c3, unless we have an attorney step up, it's going to cost us about $900 to get that done. And that's not from what I understand, that's a fairly decent price.
Yeah, that's
So, well, yeah, we've heard $1,500, we heard that, you know, the 900, so, you know, and we're not trying to push anybody, you know, we're wanting to do this, get it done on our own. If somebody didn't have time to do it, you know, we're not trying to, you know, this is your burden now, we don't wanna do that. So, we'll come up with something for you,
Sounds great.
okay?
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you.
The next thing I had, and I almost forgot it, and Robert had given it to me, is every year we have to basically offer a resolution saying that all the money we get off of our TIFs that we need. And, I'll just read it. The City of Beech Grove's financial consultant Jeff Peters of Peters Multiple Municipal Consultants has confirmed that the TIF fund of the City of Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission does not have sufficient monies to retire its outstanding debt obligations, Series 2005 and Series 2016, and fulfill their other plans objectives. And whereas on December 31st, 2015, the cash balance of the TIF fund was $482,913, and the outstanding principal and interest payments for both series bonds was $655,939. And whereas all TIF revenue was pledged as security towards the repayment of outstanding bonds, and the release of any assessed value back to the tax base could impair the security of the bondholders. And whereas the City of Beech Grove Clerk Treasurer Dan McMillan submitted a letter in June 2016 to the Department of Local Government Finance in accordance with IC 36-7-14-48F to the effect that there were not sufficient revenues in the City of Beech Grove RDC TIF fund to distribute any funds back to the respective taxing units. Be it therefore resolved that the Commissioners of the City of Beech Grove hereby confirm and ratify on June 8th, 2016, determination of no excess TIF fund monies to distribute to the respective taxing units by the city's financial consultant, and the June letter of the City of Beech Grove Clerk Treasurer Dan McMillan, or Clerk Treasurer, to the DLGF, informing the DLGF of said determination in accordance with IC 36-7-14-48. So we're just saying basically we got money, but we don't have money to give to the other taxing units. Would be like the city, the schools, sewer, and all that. So
And you're ratifying Dan's letter. One of the problems, we don't meet in
June.
June. And really, June is when we should make these determinations, but we don't meet that month.
Maybe next year we should do it in May, I guess.
Yeah.
So do I have to ask for a motion for this, Robert? Okay, I need a motion to approve this resolution.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If you would sign, Mac, we have 3, so we have enough to do it. You need your pen back.
No, I got another one.
If nobody has any, does anybody else have anything? If not, I was gonna just talk real briefly. The last month has been really, to me, kind of exciting, and it's getting to be a game changer in that we've got possible redevelopment going on in Beech Grove in the future. We've got, sounds like resolution with the St. Francis property, you know, starting to work towards bringing down the sections of the hospital they don't want. I will say that action by St. Francis alone is opening up opportunities all over the city. The mayor invited me to meet with a prospective group that was looking at one property. And one thing I will say is that group asked several times about the greenway that is going in. And I had 3 different members ask about where it was going, how much it was going to be, will it tie into Indianapolis, and the excitement of the City of Beech Grove picking up this amenity for its residents makes me glad that this board voted to help in the funding of that, and excited for the city because I think it will spur further development, and I also think it'll make our city a lot more attractive to people who want to not just rent here, but actually buy a house and fix it up and live here for a period of time. So I found that very exciting, and I think as the mayor releases it, there'll be more interesting development options coming to the city. So I would urge anybody who watches this to stay tuned, but the city is definitely moving forward in a very positive direction. With the RDC starting on the environmental work for the Greenway, we're getting ahead of that. I think the next 4 to 6 years, we'll see a major transformation in Beech Grove, and I think it'll be one the residents will really be happy with.
Down.
If you would like, I wanted you to, but I didn't know if you wanted to
I
or
was
not.
listening. I have to pull out my computer.
I understand.
All right. Don talked about the folks that we met with the other day, and then we had a meeting this morning, obviously, about another development. Want to talk to you briefly about Thompson Road sidewalks program that we're going to apply for funding for. That's to put sidewalks on the north side of Thompson between 9th Avenue and Emerson.
Desperately needed.
Dangerous.
Actually, I think it'll be more of a path than a sidewalk, 8 foot.
Oh, that'd be great.
But something, when we apply for the funding in October, one of the things that they're going to ask for is crash data. How many accidents have been in that area? And so you generally go back 5 years. And in the last 5 years, on Thompson, between 9th and Thompson, take a guess of how many accidents have been reported.
Between 9th and Emerson?
Just take a wild guess.
I'll say about 200. I don't know.
I'd say 3.
319 accidents.
Holy moly.
When they told me that, I was stunned.
Yeah, because
I couldn't believe it.
That's crazy.
You know, no fatalities, but several injury accidents as well. And they look into that. So it makes sense why those people have worn that path about 30 feet off the road.
Right.
If you see it down through
Well,
there.
if you're driving along, there's some of them will be walking right along that road, and given how people are playing Pokemon and driving, we're seeing an increase in pedestrians hit. And I think I mentioned at a city council meeting about a year ago that we need sidewalks from basically that apartment complex at 9th and Thompson over to Emerson Avenue. And even we really need them down Emerson because like in the morning when I go to work, if I stop by the under construction McDonald's or something, I'll see workers getting off the bus and they're walking along, carved paths along there. I mean, it's, given the businesses and the nature of them, a lot of people use public transportation. Long term, we need to also work on Emerson and get sidewalks because, I mean, that's what a lot of our workers use. They walk to, and people, they'll walk to the Walmart or Lowe's or something. So, I mean, long term, I hope that happens too.
The Churchman Avenue sidewalk project, remember when we first started talking about that? Mm-hmm. Well, they bumped it up some more. So now NDOT will award the bid in January of next year. So that's, this is August, September, October, November, 4 months from now.
So is that a year ahead of schedule now or 2?
It's a little over a year ahead of schedule.
Right.
So that, and that's sidewalks on Churchman from cross street from the fire station all the way to Arlington. So is going to happen. Probably a spring project, but they'll award the bid in January. So when they award the bid, they'll bill us. We'll pay our 20%, and then we step back out of the way. And then we have no other control of the project. It's an NDOT project. If you remember, graciously, the RDC paid for the first year of the design. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what a nice investment.
Well, like I said, those types of investment, the whole community benefits. And I really think with the whole community contributing money to these TIF districts, that I think the whole community should benefit from what comes out of them. And, I'm very happy and proud of that, just like the Greenway and some of these other projects that we have done. I think back to the first year we really started to approve money. I think about the folks on North 8th Avenue whose road was completely collapsing and crumbling, and you couldn't tell if it was in Syria or in Beech Grove. And You know, we stepped in and gave money and put down a new road there for them. And I mean, you know, people could say, well, that's not, you know, that's helping your neighbors out. And those are, to me, those are such worthwhile projects that we have done. I think we've had a great partnership, Mr. Mayor, and I think we've really moved the city forward.
I agree with you. We had to do a asset management plan for roads, and and I'm really happy about this, over 75% of our roads have been graded fair or good. So that's really good from 4 years ago. Community Health Network, their opening should be around the 1st of November. I was in there the other day, and it's a big facility. I was surprised at how big it was. They were a business that wanted to know for future reference where the Greenway was going to go through. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you've been over to the community center lately, but we've did some retrofitting and some improvements there. The city received funding from HUD for an at-risk youth program, and we are finishing that up. One of the things that we want to do is we want to focus on kids ages 3 to 17 and do some work with them and encourage the schools not to expel them and things like that. And the goal is to keep as many youth as we can out of the juvenile justice system. This has very little to do with RDC, but it's a project that I've taken upon that I want to do. So we're going to have an open house October the 27th at 1 o'clock, and everybody's invited to that. A lot of the programs that we do over there now are free. We offer services now, and I don't know if you realize this, to children who are going through parent divorce, kids who are struggling mentally, physically, parents who don't speak English, parents who want to learn other languages besides English. All of those things we're doing, and now another aspect is kids will be able to receive free tutoring, and we'll be able to go over there and get on computers to learn. So those are all things that we need to do. So, but that has nothing to do with RDC. I just wanted to pass that on. Churchman Avenue, if you've driven there, you've noticed that they're getting ready to pave that. That's a City of Indianapolis project. That's not the City of Beech Grove doing that. Frank Mascari, he's in District 21. That's one of his projects. So, but I think those of us who drive on that road know that it needs paved.
Yeah, it was starting to get a little rough. I was really worried this winter that it would, if we had a cold, warm, cold type winter, that parts of that road would really come apart, because they were starting to, you know. But as a matter of fact, when I came today, I was like, wow, they've already scraped this, and so that's just another great thing for the city.
The road that you folks contributed to, the Butler extension, that's done. And the report from the high school is that it's doing what it was designed to do.
So they're very happy with it.
Yeah, they are. I have not seen it function. I've driven up and down it a couple of times, but so down the road there'll be some more work in that area. So, but that was a nice investment.
I think there's some opportunity over in that area. And there's a little bit of land out there, and it's part of the city that I think sometimes gets kind of neglected or forgot about in a way. So,
Well, next spring we're going to fix Butler.
yeah, I know that's been on your radar for a couple of years.
Yeah, then if the money comes through, we'd like to redo Adelaide. So we'll see how it goes. The Medical Arts Building at St. Francis. I met with the building commissioner today, and They're just about done with the top 2 floors, and they've asked for an inspection to allow occupancy. So they're, I would say within the next couple, 3 weeks, they'll be moving people in over there. And so that's going on. With the funding for the Greenway and Arlington Avenue roundabout, that put us over the $10 million mark in the last 4 years from the MPO. So we've really been lucky and blessed for them to work with us. But NDOT has also been very good to the city this year as well. Earlier this spring, the city was awarded $625,000 from NDOT to do infrastructure upgrades. And just 2 days ago, we received a community crossings grant from NDOT, and it was for $392,000. So that put us at over $1 million from NDOT to invest in local roads. So we just got done with phase 1 of paving, and here in a couple of weeks, we'll open bids for phase 2 of paving throughout the city. So we're starting to get caught up. But one of the things that's held us back a little bit is we've learned that our roads are so bad that you just can't mill them and put a Band-Aid on them. You got to take them out and start over and put in a new base. But by doing that, the road will last, instead of 3 years, it'll last 10 to 15 years. So we've done it right, and we've been astute about it, and we have some bad roads that are getting ready to be fixed. So it's all good. Any questions?
Grovewood one of those roads?
Hmm?
Is Grovewood one of those roads?
No, Elmwood Court.
Okay.
I don't know if you've been on, that's a really bad road. Shaft,
Okay, yeah.
Bell Fountain there where it connects to Shaft. Spencer, which is the road behind Burger King.
I didn't even realize that was a road.
8th Avenue between Alton and Main. Of the park road from the bridge around the Ball Diamond up to Churchman, and then the maintenance building parking lot that's going to be paved. That's terrible.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of years ago. Again, I remember that.
Yeah, all of those roads are either graded in the assessment plan, graded a 1 or a 2, which means they are in dire need of being repaired. The worst road in the city is Adelaide. That was given a 1, and we knew that. But there's other utility issues that we have to bring forward when we do that road. So we have to look at it a little differently. So that's it. We're trying.
I think we're doing.
Oh, and Mac, the next stop, Beech Grove, one of the good things about that is the city doesn't have any involvement. So it's a non-civil city issue.
Well, and it's non-political, hopefully.
Yes.
And it can grow without, well, this is that, or,
So, all right, thank you.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anybody have anything else? If nobody has anything else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Meeting is-
seconded.
All right, thank you. The meeting is adjourned at 8 PM. Thank you very much.